Hey there, welcome back to the channel, and if you're watching this video the day it's uploaded, then happy Father's Day! I originally wanted to do a video and article about the best foods for sleep and relaxation, but this became a problem. While there's a ton of information out there, not a lot of it is scientifically backed up, and there's not a lot of in-depth analysis, and that's important to me. So I decided to do some research about how diet affects sleep in general, and it turns out there's not a ton of research done on this topic either. So today we are going to try to, as best we can, explain scientifically how diet affects sleep. Hey everyone, my name is Matthew, and welcome to Calm Insomniac, where we're a community of people trying to get a better night's sleep. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. It should be no surprise that diet affects our sleep and sleep quality, but I do think it's surprising that not a lot of research has been done on this topic. Before we get into the research, there are a few terms that we need to cover so we have a basic understanding of this subject. Let's begin with two terms that relate to sleep quality: sleep latency and sleep efficiency. Sleep latency, also known as sleep onset latency, is the amount of time it takes someone to go from being fully awake to sleeping. Ideally, this process begins as soon as you turn off the lights and get into bed, and we want sleep latency to be 30 minutes or less for it to be considered good. In fact, taking longer than 30 minutes to fall asleep is a clinical benchmark for someone who might have insomnia. Diet, of course, can affect sleep latency, but other factors as well, such as using your phone once you get into bed. And sleep efficiency is a percentage of the time you spend asleep relative to the total amount of time spent in bed. Normal sleep efficiency is considered 80%. So if you're in bed for a total of 10 hours, you want to be sleeping for at least 8 of those hours. Your sleep efficiency percentage is a good way to assess how well you are maximizing your time in bed actually sleeping. Now let's quickly refresh ourselves on some nutritional terminology just because it will come up in our discussion. Macronutrients are what provide calories or energy in our diet, and there are 3 macronutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Carbohydrates are the sugars, starches, and fibers that are commonly found in grains and fruits. Proteins are the building block of muscle mass, often found in animal products, but also found in things like nuts and legumes. And fats provide energy storage, and remember that there are both good and bad kinds of fat. I just want to quickly pause and say, if you're enjoying this video so far, then please give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you are the first to be notified when I post my new videos. Alright, with our definitions out of the way, there are 2 final things I want to address before we get into the real discussion of this topic. First, for the rest of this video, I will be using 2 studies from the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine as my sources, and those 2 research studies will be listed down below so you can check them out for yourself. And the second thing is, as always, please remember that I am not a medical professional and this is not medical advice. If you have any concerns regarding your health, please contact your doctor or healthcare provider. Our first question to consider is, when should or shouldn't you eat before bed? Research has shown that eating in close proximity to going to bed can negatively affect your sleep. Eating high-calorie foods before bed, especially 30 to 60 minutes before bed, increases your sleep latency. So this means it takes you longer to fall asleep, and studies have shown that this is especially true for women. Eating too close to going to bed has a few other negatives. First, eating before bed kickstarts your metabolism, which is a process that raises our body's internal temperature. This is a problem because when we are going to sleep, our body is trying to decrease its internal temperature, so we have processes that are fighting with each other. The second possible negative is that eating before bed increases your gastric volume, or just the amount of food that is in your stomach, and this leaves the potential for causing some physical discomfort. And the final potential negative to eating too close to going to sleep is that it can actually alter our body's metabolic and nutritional cycles. So what this means is studies have shown that eating too close to bed affects our sleep, which in turn affects our appetite sensations. So what happens is when we don't sleep well, our body's circadian rhythm becomes interrupted, which in turn can make our body think we are hungry when we actually aren't, and this can lead to things such as overeating or storing more excess fat. I found this really fascinating, and that's something I had never considered before, but our sleep cycles and eating cycles are actually interconnected. So I just spent the last few minutes telling you when not to eat, but when should you eat before bed? Well, research has found that you should eat your last large meal of the day no later than 4 hours prior to going to bed. Remember that this is just a guideline or a benchmark, and interestingly, science hasn't come to a consensus as to when you should have your last bedtime snack. Now that we know when to eat, let's discuss what we should eat. Studies have shown eating foods that are high in saturated fats and low in fiber, either throughout the day or right before bed, reduce sleep quality. This includes both sleep latency and sleep efficiency. Additionally, high intakes of sugars and simple carbohydrates can increase your chance of waking up during the night. Simple carbohydrates have sugar in them, and these are used up quickly by the body. Simple carbohydrates are found in things like fruits or processed candies, and think of simple carbohydrates as a quick boost of energy. Another reason to avoid simple carbohydrates is because since our body uses them up quickly, there is a higher chance that you will not remain satiated or feel full throughout the night, which in turn can further alter your body's appetite sensations. Another general consideration is to avoid saturated fats, which are the bad kinds of fats. This is true both for your overall health as well as your sleep quality. Diets that are high in saturated fats negatively affect sleep quality, not only increasing sleep latency, but also prevent the possibility of you spending as much time as needed in slow wave sleep. Slow wave sleep is when we are in deep, dreamless sleep and our body is restoring itself. This is when our brain is emitting delta waves, and if you want to learn more about delta waves and sleep, then I recommend you check out this video over here. So then, what should you eat before bed? Remember I said before that research has shown that you should eat your last large meal of the day no later than 4 hours prior to going to bed. But what does this meal look like? For starters, it should be rich in complex carbohydrates that are high on the glycemic index. These are foods such as whole grains, brown rice, potatoes, and large leafy greens. The next component of this meal is it should have high-quality lean proteins. So think of things like salmon or turkey or chicken. Remember that proteins can also be found in things like nuts, and some good examples would be walnuts or almonds. And finally, we want good fats in our diet, such as omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, which are often found in fish like salmon or tuna. So after listing what should be in this large meal before going to bed, what did you notice? Well, it's a well-balanced diet. It should be no surprise that eating high-quality foods and in the right proportions help keep our bodies in balance, and this helps our overall health and our sleep quality. As a personal example, I recently, by pure coincidence, started eating more Kashi brand cereal, which is high in fiber, and I've noticed that recently I have been sleeping a little bit better, just enough for me to actually notice it. Now, I don't know if it truly is from the higher fiber intake or if there's some other factor. I didn't do this as some control study, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Finally, I want to briefly mention some snacks which are considered good to eat before bed. Keep in mind that science hasn't come to a consensus as to when you should eat these before bed and exactly which snacks, but some good options are bananas, low-fat yogurt, low-fat cottage cheese, eggs, almonds, and herbal teas. Alright, that is a brief overview of how our diet affects sleep. It should be no surprise that having a well-balanced diet means that we have a higher chance of sleeping better. I really hope that more research continues to be done on this topic because it's really fascinating and I want to keep talking about it as more research is published. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, if you're watching this the day the video is uploaded, happy Father's Day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook and Pinterest, and check out my website, calminsomniac.com, where I have all kinds of articles on sleep health, sleep tips, classical music, and some product reviews. You can also sign up for my email list where I'll keep you updated on everything I post. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.